Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. When we get to 100 people, we will start our story called The Final Minutes of America. Yeah, that's going to be the name of the story. And of course, it's just, it's a fictional wink story. That's what it is. It's all fiction. Yeah, okay. And we're going to go back in time. We sure are. We're going to go way back in time. We're going to go all the way back to 1992. We're going to go back to Christmas of 1992. So try to imagine how old you are right now in this room. And I want you to take yourself all the way back to the years that I'm going to state and try to figure out how old you were. Back in Christmas of 1992, what were you doing? Where was your mind at? Were you in a good mind? Were you in a bad mind? Were you partying? Were you rock and rolling out? Were you getting late? What were you doing? Right? So here we go. Let's go ahead and start the story. The Final Minutes, America. It was Christmas, 1992. Not quite Christmas Day, but it certainly was the Christmas spirit. It was December 5th. December 5th of 1992. It's going to be Christmas. It's of the Christmas spirit of 1992, December 5th. Does anybody know the significance of the day of December 5th? Can somebody go look up what the significance of December 5th, what that date means for America? Can anybody find out what December 5th would be? What would December 5th be? Anybody? This is going to be interactive story time. Pearl Harbor. That is exactly right. So December 5th would be Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor. If you go further back in time, what would that be all about? Well, you see, the United States placed tariffs on Japan. A tariff is a nice way of saying a tax. The United States placed a tariff against Japanese steel. The Japanese were enraged. They were infuriated. So they decided that they were going to respond by attacking Pearl Harbor and dragging us into World War II. You see, England wanted the United States to help save them from all of the attacks and all the other BS that was going on with Germany in Europe. The United States said, no, we don't want any part of your little war, your skirmish, your little crybaby nonsense. We don't care. But what happened on December 5th? We were attacked. The United States was attacked, Pearl Harbor of Hawaii. And it dragged us into World War II. So now that because we were in World War II, we were fighting on two fronts, one in Asia and one in Europe, to help the Europeans and the Brits defeat the Germans. We were also in a multitude of countries in the Far East, the Philippines and Japan, of course. Right? All these other little countries and whatnot. It's a mess. We won the war. It took a long time to win that war. It sure did. But December 5th of 1992, however old you were, would it matter? It wouldn't matter to you. But where was America at? Well, who was president? This is interactive story time, ladies and gentlemen. Who was the president of the United States on December 5th of 1992? Can anybody chime in on who the president of the United States was in 1992? Who would that be? That's right, it would be Bush. Bush Sr., Papa Bush. George Herbert Walker Bush. Indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yep. He sure was. And what was going on December 5th of 1992? Well, everybody's getting ready for Christmas. That's what was going on. Everybody is doing their shopping and people are going out, they're celebrating, they're having their holiday parties at their work. But there was a faction of the Federal Bureau of Investigations that was planning an attack on America. Sure were. They were also planning directly with the Attorney General's office in New York. Isn't that right, Mr. Comey? The FBI worked closely with the District Attorney's office, the Attorney General, the Assistant Attorney General in the state of New York. They worked together and they conspired together, in which they did that very thing. But they had to get a patsy. Well, who would that patsy be? The patsy would be the blind sheikh out of Egypt. He was Egyptian, the blind sheikh. But the blind sheikh was the perfect patsy. Perfect. So once they figured that out, that he was going to be the patsy, between the FBI and, of course, the Comeys of the world back in the day, they worked together hand in hand. They placed a van in the basement of WTC that went boom on February 26th of 1993. That planning was planned under George Herbert Walker Bush by the FBI and James Comey himself. James Comey has a degree in chemistry, isn't that right, James, and religion, in which that attack took place on February 26th of 1993. 6 people died, over 1,000 were injured. Isn't that right, James? Isn't that right, the FBI? It sure the hell is. Now we got every record of it. Yeah. See how that works? 2 days later, the ATF got into a skirmish at Waco. But what is Waco? Waco, Texas is where the Bush family lives. Isn't that right, Georgie Porgy Puddin' Pie? George Bush Jr. We'll get to you in a minute. The Bushes reside in Waco, Texas. They have a ranch in Waco, Texas. Again, James Comey had a degree in religion. This is how they knew exactly who to go to and to instigate a skirmish with the Branch Davidians on February 28th, 2 days later, after what happened at the World Trade Center. That skirmish, in fact, went on and on and on and on. But before that occurred, on January 20th of 1993, a certain individual was sworn into office. Who was that individual, ladies and gentlemen? Who became president on January 20th, Inauguration Day of 1993? Please chime in. Who would that be? Who would that be? I'll sit here and wait for your answer. This is interactive story time. Bill Clinton. That is absolutely correct. So under Bill Clinton, that is what occurred at the WTC. And also the attack on the Branch Davidians by the ATF. True story. That went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, in which a decision was made to bring in a tank to attack the Branch Davidians, violating the Posse Comitatus Act. Isn't that right there, Slick Willie? In which everyone for the most part, perished at the Branch Davidians, covering up what happened at WTC. Isn't that right there, Slick Willie? Isn't that right, James Comey? Isn't that right, FBI? Isn't that right, ATF? That is right. You know I'm right. Again. Let's go ahead and continue on. Back in 2020, you had the election and whatnot. Is that right? Who was president on December 5th of 2020? Who was president December 5th of 2020? Who was it? No, it wasn't Trump, dude. Come on, get a grip on yourself. No. December, yeah. December 5th. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused in my own damn story. Who was president? I'm sorry. It's my fault. Who was president December 5th, 2000? That's what I meant to say. Who was president December 5th in 2000? That's what I meant to say. Not 2020. Right? 2000. I should have written it down. In 2000. Right? No, it wasn't Barry. Oh man, you guys in history. Apparently you're not, it's not your first language. Okay? So try to imagine where you were in 2000 on December 5th. Right? And as you know, as you already know, WTC did not come down. The New World Order is 7 years late. It sure is. It's actually 8 years late. The New World Order and the implementation of the New World Order is 8 years late. It is. But how do we know that? Well, because an Australian source, in other words, an Australian engineering team was hired by a third party to do some sort of equation of what would have happened if that one building would have fallen down in New York in 1993 when they attacked the first time around. They estimated that over 50,000 people would have died between the people in the building and the people on the ground. See, a lot of people don't know this history. A lot of the people, if you ask them about the first time around, they'll look at you with this look on their face like, what? They don't even know. Why don't we celebrate every February 26th about the World Trade Center bombing the first time in 1993? Well, why not? Why don't we have a Remembrance Day for February 26th of 1993? You ever ask yourself that question? Wasn't that a big deal? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the FBI hates to be reminded that they were involved with that with the Assistant Attorney General, Mr. James Comey. They hate to be reminded about their own BS. You see how they swept it under the rug? It kind of reminds you of another incident that occurred on October 1st, 2017. But we'll get to that. Because we're trying to work the story up to the last minutes of America. And you're all invited. You sure are. So then we get into beautiful September. September 1st of 2001. Try to imagine where you were September 1st of 2001. What the weather was like. You're getting ready for a holiday. Right? You're probably with your lady or with your man or with your family, or maybe you're on a trip overseas, or maybe you're somewhere in America. Maybe you're shopping, maybe you're sleeping, maybe you're enjoying the day. Who knows what you're doing? You know what you were doing. This would be September 1st. You're in preparation for a holiday because the holiday is just a couple of days away. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And lo and behold, there is some sort of connection of how the boogeyman is already being set up for a nice, wonderful snare that they can blame for what the FBI, the CIA, Mossad, the ATF, the DIA, the USCS, what all these bozos are about to do in 10 days. They're already getting the patsy all set up because they knew that they could use the same patsies of the same type of people that they used in 1993 because it would all kind of make sense, right? Because the Rockefellers themselves had made mention to Aaron Russo. That one, From Freedom to Fascism, Aaron Russo. The Rockefellers were to instruct to him that there's going to be an invisible boogeyman. And that boogeyman is going to be terrorism. And it will never end. And we will go after all of these different countries because of terrorism. Sure. That would be the boogeyman, terrorism. Shh. This is a story. It's just a story. Don't get upset. It's okay. Don't get upset. Who's that? Mr. Smith for the Coronathon. Well, thank you very much. So then the 11th rolls around. Condoleezza Rice. What was the position of Condoleezza Rice on September 10th? Can anybody tell me in the class what is the position of Condoleezza Rice on September 10th of 2001? Can anybody tell me? Condoleezza Rice. What was her position? I'm not reading. I have all this memorized. So I don't think I'm reading. I'm looking at the comments. Does anybody know? Secretary of State. Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of State. Oh my goodness. You believe that? That is such a powerful position. On the 10th of September, she places a call into Willie Brown. California, don't come to New York. Don't do it. You'll be glad you didn't. See how that works? That's how that works. Tons of people that had offices in those buildings did not come to work. Tons. Especially in that building called number 7. Didn't go to work. Gosh, I wonder why. And then on the 11th, well, you know what happens next. Magically, before 5 p.m. rolls along, the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the ATF, the DIA, the USCS, all of them already know who's responsible. And that would be Tim Osman. Does anybody know who Tim Osman is? Who is Tim Osman? Does anybody know? This is interactive story time. Tim Osman is the culprit. Who is Tim Osman? Does anybody know? That's right, Osama bin Laden. It's the darndest thing. But why did they call him Tim Osman? Well, because he used to work for the CIA. What? Yeah, true story. You see, Osama bin Laden and his family in Saudi Arabia, they're Saudi Arabia. Anyway, they are a bunch of contractors and they're builders and they build things and this wonderful thing. And, you know, he used to be one of their little, he used to use them as a tool. And his code name under the CIA was Tim Osman. Isn't it amazing that by 5 o'clock, you knew by 5 p.m. who was responsible? Because some guy in a cave with a laptop that had a very severe kidney disease. He decided somehow, some way, he was going to get a bunch of pickle juice drinking comrades together, and they were going to do some weird sort of something with a bunch of bot cutters. BS alert. Newsflash, newsflash, newsflash. 0 planes. Sorry. Sorry. So sorry. There's plenty of evidence. Plenty. More and more and more and more and more people. Tons of video footage from the press. It was unedited that aired that day that people recorded tons and tons and tons.
Yeah.
0 planes.
I'll tell you right there. I'll stop that. I remember watching the original broadcast of the live footage of the things hitting the buildings there in New York on that day, and I can tell you what we seen were not planes. They resembled planes, but they were modified missiles. And what hit the Pentagon was clearly, upon review years later, I seen a video of it was a modified Tomahawk that hit the Pentagon. It was clear the explosive damage. That day when we seen when it happened, we assumed we were being attacked by Russia or North Korea or somebody, China, because the Pentagon looked as if it had been hit by a missile and not a plane. If a plane would have hit it, it would have left a lot different damage. And that's one thing they have not scrubbed from the footage was the actual damage done to the Pentagon. You can still go back and see it with the photoshopped plane wreckage in there or placed there after the initial explosion, and you could look and tell that wasn't a plane hit it. And plus, you could look at the two buildings impacts and tell that those impacts were from an explosive charge, a penetration and then explosion charge. If a plane would have hit, it would have a backwards, a different. It would have been a different type of impact explosion. Now I seen live the modified missiles. They were all white. They had no markings. The original. Now they looked like, from a distance and from the cameras, they looked like planes, but we could tell that they were not planes, and that we had just been hit by some sort of ground to air to ground missile system, and that we were under attack because me and my neighbor, we started getting ready to be invaded because we thought any minute from there, troops were going to start dropping down to the fucking sky. Because we had been talking about this situation several days before. Me and a lot of other people around the world were talking around that time to get ready for a global conflict or something because of the way the markets and everything were and stuff. So we had pretty much predicted this attack because they had to do something to stop the trade and the markets that were in turmoil. So the attack on the buildings was set up, so I cut Montagraph's story off, but I'll let him finish. But the attacks on the buildings were set up to affect the markets. The reason why they didn't hit Wall Street is because the main players were in the two big high-rise buildings there. You know what they're called. Avoiding that name and everything to avoid YouTube from putting any restrictions on this video, and I'm glad Montagraph did the same. But the reason why they didn't hit Wall Street and the original target back in '93 and in 2001 was that place, because all the big players that they wanted to get rid of were in those buildings, and then the people that didn't show up for work were, had been warned or knew about it for secondhand, and plus there was some numerology involved with the date and the astrology. The astrology, you can ask Ariel. You guys can ask Ariel, or if Ariel's watching this, chime in or check the astrology from that day and what the astrology was saying about that day prior to that day, the 11th of September in 2001. So everything kind of keys into this NWO Illuminati order trying to take over and stuff. But let me put this in before the end of the video, and I'll just, when Montagraph's done, I'll let it go. But the end of the Kali Yuga is coming in 2004 to 2005. These archons are losing the frequency to exist on, so they have are trying to occupy bodies, occupy mortals to stay relevant here in this existence. So that's what's going on right now, and all this invasion and stuff like that. Yeah, it's partially right. It is, but they're not all together physical, and they're not. But they will be when they occupy people. So just be prepared for people who acted strange. Well, you know why? Because they're possessed. They're possessed about that.
0, none. It's all BS alert. Right? But you've been told that. You were told that over and 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 over. This is called mind control. This is all manipulation. If you say the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over, you can actually trick somebody into believing some BS that never even happened. All right, what is this there? Current. They're all Satan worshipers. And these are all the satanic rituals. It's disgusting, isn't it? So you got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the New World Order is 8 years late. Because, try to imagine, that's 2001 now. We're to that part in history. If that nonsense would have happened, and that building would have fallen down in 1993, February 26th, we would already be in the New World Order as they had planned. We're 8 years late. 8 years late. Let's go ahead and continue. Let's go. Hurry up and continue. So then you have that going on. Members of Congress are questioning the validity of such preposterous stories. Yes, they are. And they're behind closed doors are saying, something's wrong with this picture. Meanwhile, anthrax is sent to a plethora of different people in Congress. You remember that? Oh, they got to have a boogeyman. They got to have a boogeyman. Boogeyman, boogeyman, so important. Who are we going to blame that on? Let's go ahead and pick one of these doctors. We'll pick somebody that's maybe a little unstable, somebody that we deem that is expendable. Yeah, we got to have a patsy for that. Who's it going to be? And what was that all about? That was essentially set up so that way, one, those Congress people would shut the hell up, would two, go along with their plan for the signing and passage of the Patriot Act, which is nothing patriotic about the Patriot Act. This was to make sure that they stayed in check. Because if you don't just shut the hell up, stop asking questions behind closed doors in front of the public, then you might have a powder problem. Yeah. So here we go, 2003. The Patriot Act is drafted and it's signed. Now you have to remember, a lot of people revert back to the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. I did want to remind everyone that the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, was first put out in 1964. A lot of people believe that came out during the Obama administration. BS alert. Came out in 1964. It's been out forever. And every president that comes into office extends it. But what does that mean? Why is that relevant? Why is the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the Patriot Act, why is that important? Because when you put both of them together, you could essentially arrest anyone in the United States without charge, without habeas corpus, without any sort of defense, charges, anything, and hold them indefinitely because you felt like it. Against their will, without representation, without charges, without arraignment. What? True story. But why did they do that? Oh, because of Tim Osman. Look what Tim Osman did. He's a terrorist. Oh, run for your lives. Right? Yes, that is right. In which later the United States was told by who? Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, and all these other dorks, that somehow, some way, Iraq had something to do with what happened in September when they didn't. Tried to spew out the garbage about they had WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, all bullshit, and everybody knew it. The satellite information was bogus, and everybody knew it. All of the international partners, Russia, China, the key partners of the United Nations, they all knew it was bullshit, but they passed it anyway because they had no choice. The United States went stomping into Iraq under false pretenses, in which tens of thousands of Americans were injured, maimed, or killed, in which over 1 million people on their side were injured, maimed, or killed, based on bullshit. Isn't that right there, Bushy Jr.? Isn't that right there, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell? Huh? You bunch of bozos. Let's go ahead and continue. We're not done. Oh, listen, this is interactive story time. Sure is. And then the United States is in a chicken stand. Because the big bad boogeymen, they're over there too. Oh, we're so scared. In which, back in late 2002, 2003, a country by the name of Syria signed a pact with 11 other nations, including the United States, called the Friendship Pipeline Treaty. Sure did. And you wonder why the United States is bombing the hell out of Syria, because they violated the Friendship Pipeline Treaty. Yes, they did. That pipeline was to go from Iran through Iraq into Syria, all across their country, into Lebanon, underneath the sea, and provide natural gas and oil to all of Europe, pushing out Russia. But Russia is the ally of Syria. And guess what? Syria said, no, we're not doing it. Forget you. So they've been bombed relentlessly over and over and over, and they're still hanging on. See how that works? So let's go ahead, let's go 2003, we're doing our thing. Let's keep advancing. And every time you turn around, we have some little skirmish with this country or that country. Technology is advancing, and also in 2003, this is very important. A German by the name of Peter Thiel came up with this brilliant idea of this thing called Palantir. What is that? Well, that's a program, see, that the intelligence agencies used predominantly. And until it caught on, then other intelligence agencies used all around the world. And this is the key part of this whole, the last minutes of America. Story time. Palantir. So what is Palantir? Well, it's analytical data about everybody. And as you heard, the information that came out that High Impact Flicks covered just the other day about lifelong. That was a DARPA project as well that they were talking about that, well, you know, we're going to essentially follow you electronically. We're going to find out every last relationship you ever had, every email you ever sent, every telephone call you ever made, every voicemail you ever got, every text message you ever sent. You think that was canceled? Oh, hell no. Say hello to Palantir. Oh, yes, oh, yes. So here we keep advancing in time. You got the TSA, the Transportation Safety Administration. They're feeling up your grandma. Everybody's raising hell about it. But hey, it's a new world. It's a new era. We got to worry about terrorists. Oh, run for your lives. When it was all bullshit. It was all fabricated by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Isn't that right, Christopher Wray? Isn't that right, James Comey? Isn't that right, Condoleezza Rice? Isn't that right, George Bush Jr.? Isn't that right, Colin Powell? Isn't that right, Dick Cheney? You bozos. Get a grip on yourself. Truly. Clowns. A bunch of clowns. So as we keep going forward, more and more restrictions are placed on Americans. Every time you drive around somewhere, they got cameras on you, but you can't have cameras on them? Oh, hell no. Oh, you might be a naughty person. Huh. We'll have none of you. Shame on you. We got to watch out for you all the time. Sure do. Oh, you're a very bad person. You might be a domestic terrorist. Oh, scared. Run for your lives, right? Then you'd have all these other instances that would occur, both domestically and on foreign soil. And then, of course, the United States would get pissed off at Libya because Libya's not playing the game. Libya decided that their leader was going to build a pipeline, not an oil pipeline, not a natural gas pipeline, but a water pipeline. Libya was one of the richest countries in Africa. Libya is located in Africa. It is not in the Middle East. A lot of people think that it's in the Middle East, but it's not. It is in Africa. Muammar Gaddafi was loved by his people. He was one of the very few leaders that could drive down the road in a convertible with very limited security detail, and his people would come out and greet him. You didn't have to have bulletproof glass and all that bullshit. Oh, hell no. He was loved by his people. There was a time where he actually gave up rooms to his palace so that way the homeless could sleep in a warm, comfortable place instead of being on the street. He was loved by his people. He was going to build a water pipeline that would flourish throughout Africa and help all of the African nations so that way they wouldn't be as poor. They wouldn't have to have all of this political strife. They wouldn't have to have all this civil war and all this crap going on. They wouldn't have to worry about foreign interests. The United States didn't like that very much and said, you better just knock it off, pal. Libya also was not under the reign and rule of the central bank. They weren't. They were independently wealthy. They were selling their own oil. They were selling their own goods and services to just all kinds of different markets. But the United States didn't like that. Listen here, Muammar Gaddafi, you have been blamed for that airline that went down in the Reagan years, right? It went down over Scotland or whatever. All that was set up too. Sure was. Oh, bullshit again. Bullshit. Had nothing to do with that. Nothing. Ronald Reagan, under the Ronald Reagan administration, he attempted to take him out, but not to launch. That failed. Right? So what happened next? The United States went stomping in there and took him out, but not to lunch. Yeah. Just framed him as some bullshit and went there and assassinated the man and his family. What is the first thing that happened when Libya fell? The central bank took over. Yes, they did. One more country under their rule. Fucking banks. Spit on you. Unbelievable. Right? Let's go ahead and continue. Then, of course, you got this thing going on with, let's say, lock her up. You know, who's lock her up? Does anybody know? This is interactive story time. Does anybody know who lock her up is? Anybody know? Remember some guy named Trump? He went around, you know, people chant, lock her up, lock her up. Is she locked up? No.
And lock her up. I have I am here in Walmart headquarters territory, and she was on the board of Walmart prior to them becoming governor and then later becoming president and first lady. She was on the board of Walmart, and that's why Walmart is involved with the continuity of government. It's because of lock-her-up's ties with lock-her-up that tied the board and the functionings of Walmart in with
because he's
federal government.
Well, that's right. That's exactly who it is. Sir Spirit. So anyway, you got lock her up. Lock her up is just laughing her asses off. We went. We did this. He died. Ha ha ha. Big old joke. Talking about Muammar Gaddafi. Then, of course, when lock her up was Secretary of State. Let's go ahead and advance further into time. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. When she's Secretary of State, she's meeting with a gentleman by the name of Morsi, Mohammed Morsi, out of Egypt. Sure was. Yep. That would be back in 2012, in the summer of June, July. And she was meeting with Morsi, and Morsi wasn't quite president yet, but he was going to be. He was going to be the president of Egypt. And he stood before, on his inauguration, or the equivalent of inauguration, once he was elected, and he vowed to all of his people in Egypt that before he was to be relieved of his duties, by the time his presidency would be upped in all of Egypt, he was going to make sure that he was going to get the release of the blind sheikh that was being held in the United States and the Carolinas. True story. What? The blind sheikh? Well, wait, hold on a second. The blind sheikh. Wasn't the blind sheikh part of the very beginning of our story? It sure was. Because in 1993, ladies and gentlemen, the blind sheikh was accused of attacking the World Trade Center on February 26th of 1993. He sure was. He was arrested and he was incarcerated in a federal penitentiary in the Carolinas. Wow. Holy smokes. And you mean to tell me that Lock Her Up is having meetings with Mohammed Morsi in the summer of 2012 to the very cat that is vowing to have his release? What the hell? No, say it isn't so. Well, yeah, that is so, and we got every record of that too. True story. Anyway, moving right along, in which it was so strange, that on September, it was the day after the 10th of 2012, there was an incident at the Benghazi outpost in Libya. Wow, it's the darndest thing. In which there's verifiable videotape of Egyptians doing naughty things, very naughty things, in which Christopher Stevens and all of his staff were taken out, but not to lunch. See how that works? That's exactly how that works. But why wasn't one pinky lifted? Why didn't Mr. I believe it was Admiral Ham, why didn't he help them? Why didn't they help them? Because they weren't supposed to be killed. It was supposed to be a kidnapping. A kidnapping? Oh, yes. It was supposed to be a kidnapping so that way there would be an exchange between the blind sheikh and Christopher Stevens and his staff. But Mr. Stephen was taken out but not to lunch, along with 3 others. That's why not one pinky was lifted by Obama or Lock Her Up as they watched drone and satellite footage in real time. They gave the stand down order. Why? They had plenty of people there to assist in some sort of rescue. Well, if you try to rescue people and you end up taking out the opponents, then you do the identification process and find out that they were Egyptian and they actually came from Dr. Morsi out of Egypt, that was the leader of Egypt, that vowed to all of his people that he was going to have the release of the blind sheikh. That's why. Holy smokes. So as that, all the fires are smoldering and all that nonsense, about 2 to 3 weeks later, then the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, goes to Libya to investigate. After weeks of the incident being over with. Weeks. So now the site's been contaminated by the people that, live there and such, and maybe other foreigners or whatever the hell. It's a darndest thing, isn't it? Darndest thing. In which, here we go again, ladies and gentlemen, somebody has to be blamed for what happened in Benghazi. Because it wouldn't make sense that you would just have some generic protest and have an embassy be attacked that took 4 Americans out. That'd be impossible. So you gotta have a patsy. Who would that be? Sam Basile. Well, who's that guy? Well, see, Sam Basile is not Sam Basile. That's Nuclear, who just happens to be a Coptic Egyptian that was on YouTube that released a video called Innocence of Muslims. What? Yes, he released Innocence of Muslims, but he really didn't release Innocence of Muslims. No, he didn't. You see, a faction of the CIA called Stanley Incorporated is the one that released Innocence of Muslims. They actually released Innocence of Muslims on the 11th at 5:45 a.m. They sure did, after what happened in Libya. The attack in Libya occurred starting at 9:45 p.m. on the 10th, and it ran all the way over until about 4 o'clock in the morning. The CIA uploaded on YouTube Innocence of Muslims. Yes, they did. They named it Innocence of Muslims. They got the video from Sam Basile, that is Nukla, the Coptic Egyptian, off of YouTube. They changed the name, repackaged it, shortened it down to a 2-minute frame, and then released it. And blamed what happened in Libya on that video. Believe me, I would know. I'm the guy that busted them. I'm the guy that proved electronically that the CIA did that and the time frame that they did it. Sure am. And I was able to force all the news agencies all over the world to change their attitude and their lie that that video caused anything when it didn't. Go check. True story. See how that works? Let's go ahead and continue. Let's keep going. 2 weeks later, what happened? Yes, you had a gentleman that, let's see, he was some big hotshot, and he was having some sort of infidelity problems. Does anybody know who that person is that was in the military? Shortly after that happened, they were up this dude's ass. He's in the military. He's kind of a tall, strapping dude. Does anybody know who he is? Does anybody know who that guy is? This is interactive story time. Does anybody know? Let's see. No, it's not Flynn. Starts with a P. Betrayal. That's right. That's right. Betrayal. But why was Betrayal in trouble?
I gotta get
he had some
donuts.
sort of infidelity. I mean, whose
So
business is it that you'd have some sort of situation with infidelity? Well, you see, Petraeus was involved in the whole bullshit that went down in Libya. Oh no, he was in charge of African theater. Yes, he was. Oopsie, it's not right, Petraeus. Or excuse me, is it Betrayus? Yeah, that's right, Betrayus. Anyway. In which days after that, he was able to ring the bell at the stock exchange. Roughly 16 days after what happened in Benghazi, a story was released by the mainstream media press that the White House was considering releasing the blind sheikh out of the Carolinas because he had some sort of health issues. Isn't that neat? Amazing, isn't it? That's absolutely amazing. Don't you find the timing very strange? Don't you find it so bizarre that somehow, someway, the United States government, the Defense Intelligence Agency, had the compassion, they had the heart to think about releasing the blind sheikh into the custody of the Egyptian government because of health issues. Bullshit alert. Oh, this is so much fun. Listen, this is just a story. It's just a story. Imagine this story. It's fascinating, isn't it? This is going to be the final minutes of America. It's so exciting. Let's go ahead and continue, shall we? In which Christmas time, another incident occurred in the state of Connecticut. I can only imagine what that would be. I'm sure everybody don't even say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't type it, don't do anything, because, hey, that's taboo. That's taboo, but hey, that's there for a reason, because it's part of the greatest show on earth. It sure is. Part of the greatest show on earth. We went through all of that, but it means something, because shortly after that, within a year of that incident occurring, there was an individual that went sneaking around the internet and started deleting people's content that they had no right to delete. That would fall under the realm of censorship. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Why is that important? Because that is prior to the absolute jurisdictional exchange of the internet that occurred under the Obama administration in the late part of 2016. This is why that part is very important. Because an outsider had infiltrated the United States and had placed restrictions of speech in America prior to the releasing of the internet to the group of governors in 2016. That's why this is important. So that occurred in 2013 and continued on in 2014 and 15, and then by 2016, under the Obama administration in the summer of 2016, ICANN and IANA, the internet was released over to the group of governors. The jurisdiction of the internet was gone from the United States. Because under the jurisdiction of the United States, if somebody had a problem on the internet, technically, they would have to go through the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, or the Federal Trade Commission. But when that was handed over to an international body, out of the group of governors, which was 13 nation states, not states, but countries, they call them states, but they're really countries. Out of the 13 nation states, 11 of those countries were highly censorship nations that had censored politically their people or their press or their dignitaries, ambassadors, whatever, their leadership. Right? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Under the Obama administration, what did you have? You had where, hey, they care about your health. They care so much about your health. Oh, we care about your health. Oh. So let's go ahead and nationalize health. Let's make it where you have to buy. In other words, we're going to force Americans to purchase insurance. And if you don't have that Obamacare, then you're going to get a one-time fine of $690 a year, which is a tax. It's a tax. It's unconstitutional. Of course it is. And so many people were opposed to it, but so many people were for it. People couldn't understand, how is it that all the stocks of these medical apparatuses actually rose when they passed Obamacare? It should be the other way around. If it was affordable, then why is everybody complaining? Because it wasn't affordable. Remember the you can keep your doctor game? Remember how Obama went around and peddled that bullshit out of his own lips? You can keep your doctor. You can keep your doctor. You can keep your doctor. It was all garbage. It's a lie. It's the biggest lie ever told. Right? But everybody swallowed it up because you felt like you didn't have a choice. You go into the Federal Reserve every time you go to file your tax return. The IRS is the strong arm of the Federal Reserve. So every time you go to the Federal Reserve, the IRS, to fill out your taxes, to get back the portion which they stole from you in the first place, which is an oxymoron, okay? You got to sit there and plead with them. Okay, listen, I just want my $4,000. I just want my $2,000, and you're going to take $690 of it? Well, what do I got left? And that's where millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans were at during that whole time. True story. Right? So it's all about the health. They care so much about you. Bullshit alert again.
I got chocolate.
It's all about
donut,
dominating you. It's all about controlling you.
Butterscotch ice cream, guys.
And you had nothing to do with it. It wasn't your decision. It was all these bozos up in Congress. It was their decision. Your representatives. Right? What a joke. Freaking joke. Everybody knows it's an injustice. But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Let's go ahead and continue on. So here you have Trump man. He's running for office. And he's going to win. Because he's going up against who? Lock her up. Matter of fact, he ran under his ticket a lot of these different places that he would go and have his speeches. And people are chanting by the tens of thousands, lock her up. Is she locked up? Nope. What people are not aware of is Donald Trump was a Democrat for a very long time. Yes, he was. He was good friends with lock her up. And he's chummy chesum, buzzy with her still, even today. It's all a game. It's the greatest show on earth. People think that what they're seeing on the TV is real. It's all BS. It's all nonsense. Fairy tales. These guys are swapping spit in the damn green rooms, but yet when they're on stage, they're acting like they're at each other's throat. It's all BS. It's all to fool you.
Like WWF.
It's the greatest show on earth, buddy. That's it. So the big T-man, he gets there. He gets in there. He gets into office. Trump is into office. So many people so happy. So many people pissed off too. So what happens? The mainstream media press attacked that dude relentlessly. They're on him. But that was set up in such a way to get a hate culture after this guy. Even the people that you would ask why they hate Donald Trump, they couldn't tell you. Because they were conned. They were mesmerized by the press. They were mesmerized by Donald Trump himself. He being an actor. He being an entertainer. He being a money man. He knowing how to manipulate the minds of the many because he'd done it before. Yes, he had. Absolutely. Plus, he had the money, the clout behind him. He would sit there and complain about the press all the time. Win, cry.
Didn't do anything about sex.
If he was so concerned about the press, why didn't he reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act? Why not? Once he were to reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act, that means nobody in the mainstream media could lie. No more propaganda. None. And if they were caught lying, they could lose their license. Why did he reinstate the Smith-Mundt Act? Why not? Because it's the greatest show on earth. That's why. And he knows it. Yes, he does. And then he would still go to his rallies and people would chant by the tens of thousands, lock her up, lock her up. No. She locked up? Let's go ahead and take it. How many people in the room? This is interactive story time. It's okay. How many people are here? We got 1,502 people. Is she locked up? Yes or no? Let's see. I'll just read the comments. Let's see. What do we got? Is she locked up? Let's see. Okay, all right. Well, son of Hibernia says no. Let's see. We got another one. 51 says no. Chuck says no. Bill says no. Debbie says no. Got hell no. No. Hey. No way. Exactly. She ain't locked up. Still. Oh, hell no. So the big T-man, he's doing whatever he's doing. And as years go on, it's as if he's not getting anything done. Every time you turn around, it's the Russians. It's the Chinese. It's the press against Trump. That's what it appeared to be for all of those years. It's just a waste of breath. It was the greatest show on earth. That's it. Now it's getting close. Now we're getting close to the last hours of America. Even though this story is about the last minutes of America. So this is what happened. January of 2019 through August of 2019, an exercise was conducted called Crimson Contagion under the Trump administration. It sure was. Yep. But what does that got to do with anything? Well, that was about in the case a pathogen were to get loose and create some sort of pandemic. Oops. What? Let me repeat it. January of 2019 through August of 2019, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, that's 8 months. An 8-month exercise was conducted under the Trump administration called Crimson Contagion. Go check, please do. That report, that white paper came out in September of 2019, in which on October 18th of 2019, another tabletop exercise was conducted in New York, New York, called Event 201. That was sponsored by John Hopkins and the Billy Goats Foundation. Isn't that neat? But who was there? Johnson & Johnson was there. The World Bank was there. Members of the IMF were there. The Surgeon General was there. Let's see, we have representatives from the CDC were there, and the FDA were there. Isn't that cool? What was that about? That was about another pandemic that may hit the world and what they would do about it, dealing with supply chains and all that other garbage. It was reported the very first case from the Wuhan Wiggle was reported on November 17th of 2019, which is very strange because the CDC put out a job application for people to work as quarantine advisors on the 15th of November through Indeed.com, Monster.com, looking for quarantine advisors in 19 cities throughout the United States. What a coinky-dink. Is this something else? This is so bizarre. Meanwhile, people in America, they're just getting ready for the holidays, shopping and that sort of thing. It's the darndest thing. But we need to go back to 2018 for a spell, just a little bit. You see, there's some action going on in the Carolinas. And, by the way, there's a fellow by the name of Ben Swan that covered that today. And you can go see it. It's on the OctoberReignz, or you can go see it on Rumble. Anyway, so you have this situation in North Carolina where there was some financing going on between North Carolina and then the NIH, the NIAID, which is headed up by Mr. Collins. And then, of course, the NIH is headed up by Mr. Fauci. And they had some funding that went to the Wuhan lab. See how that works? And while they're working on trying to figure out some sort of spike, but not in the hair of some protein, right, but not a shake, they were at the same exact time trying to figure out how they could make it more potent for humans. Well, at the same time, it appears creating a roll up your sleever for this pathogen. At the same time. It's amazing. In which, let's go ahead and keep going. In the early part of 2020, I wanted to say it was February 13th, one of the Trump family members praised, the Trump monster there, and stated that he made some sort of arrangement with one of these big pharmaceuticals to create a vaccine in February. It's fascinating, isn't it?
That was good, man.
Or somehow, some way, this other pharmaceutical company by the name of Moderna, they announced to the world that they already figured out one in just a matter of hours.
The Moderna monster.
That is amazing. In a matter of hours. Fascinating. And then suddenly on March 13th of 2020, a national emergency was burped out of the mouth of Donald Trump. Remember that? That was the darndest thing. And he also made mention, he had these advisors up there, Dr. Fauci, Blinky Burks, right? These guys from the CDC and all that. And they were talking about, well, they think the right decision is they need to shut down the country. They need to flatten the curve or some crap like that, right? It's all a bunch of BS. Then, of course, you have the Operation Warp Speed and all that happy horse shit, right? Yeah, imagine. Just imagine all the quinky-dinks. You know, when you had the job openings that came out on the 15th of November of 2019 with the Crimson Contagion, along with the Event 201. Wow, it's just fascinating. It was just all lining up perfectly. It's like the greatest show on earth or something. So then what happens next? Well, the very first vaccine is given in the United States on December 19th of 2020. It sure is. Oh, people are in such a rush. You got the Christmas rush, and then you got the, I got to go rush and roll my sleeve. BS alert, because nobody's going for that crap either. In which so many people did do it, of course. The elderly, you know, they're all worried about sketched out or whatever. They don't want to get the woo hand wiggle. They want to race on down and get going on something. And then you go into 2021. And what's happening? Well, it's announced that right after the vaccine is available, it is also announced that the very person that headed up this thing called Palantir. Oh, we got to go back in time. Let's go ahead and do that. 2003. Palantir is developed by Peter Thiel. It sure is. 2003. That's a long time, dude. Just try to imagine the technological advances from 2003 to 2020, 2021. Wow, that's pretty fascinating. Okay, all right, let's keep going. That Peter Thiel is going to be essentially providing the databases called scariest. While at the same time, being in charge in government contracts for the DoD, Department of Defense, using Palantir. Huh, that's so strange. So what happens next? Well, you have all these people and they're flipping out, and they're saying that these hospitals are overwhelmed, and this was back in 2020. Hospitals are overwhelmed. There's so many people that are dropping like flies, and it's just a horrible thing. And, you know, if somebody went there because of a motorcycle accident and they tested positive for some other thing, then if they ended up, you know, being taken out but not to lunch, they'd be counted as, you know, having the woo hand wiggles. Darndest thing. So what happened is the numbers exploded, and it gave the illusion, because it's the greatest show on earth, it gave the illusion that it's bigger than what it really was. But how would the public prove that? Well, this representative that actually worked in Congress questioned that very thing because he saw a story in New York about how supposedly the hospital was overwhelmed, but yet he passes by that hospital every day, and he just didn't believe it for himself. So he took a video camera and he started videotaping the actual hospital, in which the entire nation filed suit. In other words, they followed him and went to their own hospitals all over the United States and all over the world, in which people, everyday people, proved that that was not the case. Oops. Uh-oh. Well, why not? We're being told that was overwhelmed, this was overwhelmed, this was overwhelmed, that was overwhelmed, this. The stories, the headlines, the press is fanning the flames. What's going on? Uh-oh, things aren't matching up. where social media gets involved and starts removing the videos. Your account's gone because you dared put up a video questioning the authorities. Yeah. Well, we need to scoot off we need to go to 1994 all of a sudden. 1994. WC. William Cooper. In 1994, Billy Cooper burped out of his own mouth that the powers that be had a plan to use an Italian epidemiologist to create a pathogen that would be delivered via vaccine. Those are Billy Cooper's words from 1994. That's a true fact. You can go hear his words if you want. They're anywhere on the web. You can go get them. Why does that matter? You'll see. We're almost done with the last minutes of America's story. Yeah. So anyway, after all these people started proving that it wasn't as big as a deal what the press was purporting everything to be, people started raising their eyebrows going, wait a minute, this truly is the greatest show on earth. And maybe I shouldn't believe everything I read. And maybe I need to investigate for myself. Maybe I myself need to look into what's happening with my nation, what's happening with my local town, my state, my representatives, my hospitals, the people that work there. People started doing their own little investigations. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And these nurses started stepping forward. These doctors started stepping forward. The doctors that were in Congress that were once doctors started stepping forward and speaking up. And they too were sanctioned and silenced and threatened with losing their medical licenses because how dare they question the authority? How dare you? They too were censored right off the web. See how that works? That's amazing, isn't it? Something is just, we're still under the Trump administration. You believe it? Yeah, sure are. All that was going on under him. Son of a gun. Then, of course, you have that big old thing, that big old shindig that was to take place on January 6th, because supposedly, somebody started playing around with this machine or that machine that didn't quite look so right, whatever. And the very Pied Piper that brought everybody there knew what was going to happen. It was already planned weeks in advance. It sure was. Isn't that right there, Donald? Isn't that right there, Mr. Pence? Sure the hell is. Isn't that right, Mr. ATF, Mr. FBI, Mr. DIA, Mr. USCS? Isn't that right, Nancy? Sure is right. Isn't it right that photographs were taken on the 5th, Nancy, in your office on the 5th? Not on the 6th, on the 5th. You mad, bro? Isn't it right that that was already planned by different organizations? And there's every record of it. Every record. Multiple people have done stories about that in our community that you know. Right? I think Miley did one. Maybe Paula did one. Tons of people have done investigations. The Orange Coalition, remember them? Yeah. So he's out of office. Okay, here comes the inauguration. It's a big old mess. And who shows up to that inauguration? Lock her up shows her up, doesn't she? What color is Lock her up wearing at Joseph Stalin's inauguration? Can somebody tell me the color of a dress that Lock her up was wearing at the inauguration for Joseph Stalin? Can anybody help me out? What color was her dress? Can somebody help me out? It was purple. And as you know, the day that she essentially threw in the towel from losing to Donald Trump, she was also wearing purple, ladies and gentlemen. Purple is the color of deception. Kamoto was also wearing purple. You'd notice that. The soon-to-be president of the United States, Kamoto, was also wearing purple. If you remember, Lock Her Up was touting about the purple revolution. That one. Yeah. Well, they mean it because it's all about deception. If she's locked up, she still is not locked up. She's not going to be. Nobody will be, except for you. We're almost to the last minutes of America. Here we go. So let's go ahead and go back to Palantir. Palantir, from 2003 until now, every person on the planet has been Palantired. Everybody. Everybody in Congress. Everybody in the military. All of you in every nation, in every town, regardless of how remote. If you've ever talked on the phone, sent a text message, sent an email, received an email, read a blog, written a blog, made a comment on social media, or not, everyone has been Palantired. Everybody. So they already know an assessment of where your ideology is. They already know your political backgrounds, your beliefs, your staunch beliefs, your lines in the sand, your political affiliation, your medical history, your blood type, your fingerprint, your iris, your facial scan. They know all of it. Because we have this thing called artificial intelligence, machine learning. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. All the agencies are all working in connection, in collaboration with each other. Providing information here, providing information there. You providing the information yourselves through two-dimensional video. Everyone has been Palantired. So they know who are the ass kissers and who are the people that will fight back. Now we got to go back to the shark. A shark does not want to attack you. A shark will only attack you in a lot of cases if they feel that you are weak. A shark wants to take easy prey. They don't want to take prey that's going to fight back. Go check. People are terrified of sharks. But all in all, sharks are not aggressors. Sharks are opportunists. That's where the Palantir comes into play for the last minutes of America. So what do? Well, this is what you do. Seeing that everyone's been Palantired on the planet, seeing that every single person has some sort of score in association with who's going to be the ass kissers and who's not. Who are the people that are going to fight for the Constitution? Who are the people that are going to fight for their families, their country, their neighborhoods, for their beliefs, their convictions? Who are the ones that are going to do that? And as soon as we figure that out, as that company has, then we need to take action. How are we going to do that? Well, we'll have 3 different colors, let's say. One will be the placebo. We will give the placebos to the ass kissers. All right? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to give placebos to the ass kissers, to the people that will for surely kiss our ass, for the people that will comply at this time. That's what we're going to do. For the people that are going to fight us, well, they need to be taken out, but not to lunch. So we're going to give them that one. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to take about 2 steps, and they're no longer with us. Yeah. See how that works? Oh, it's the darndest thing. And, well, nobody has any liability. And, hey, you volunteered yourself for the greater good and all. Then we got the other one that's going to put you in such a state of, not only a state of mind, but a state of physical recession, that you're going to be the cash cow for the future medical fields. The cancers that need to be treated, the kidney ailments that need to be treated. You need medicine because you have nervous issue problems. You're going to be the cash cow. We're going to play the booster game because, as we know, as time progresses, people's minds will change. So we need to update their Palantir. Their Palantir is going to be in conjunction with the Tiberius database dealing with what? The roll up your sleever. So as people's minds change, as the social pressures change, and maybe they get a little angry, and those very people that we thought for sure were going to kiss our asses, now they lost their job and they're angry at the government. We need to Palantir them again. So let's get the boosters out there. So the boosters, we're going to take that dude out, but not to lunch, because he ain't going to kiss her ass no more. We thought he was going to kiss her ass, but he's changed his mind. We can't have that. You got to go. Here, let's go ahead and add you, this swath of individuals. You're going to be our cash cow with all your little ailments, all your other BS. And then the other people that will definitely kiss our ass, they too get the placebo. And what does that do? That encourages everyone to say, well, I'm fine. Nothing happened to me. You should get yours. But why? How could you say that? Do you truly believe that Poopy Pants Biden got a booster? He did not. Wrong. No, he didn't. Do you know why he didn't? Because there's no way that the powers that be could take a chance that he would get one of those and he would be like that nurse out of Texas or wherever she was from, Tennessee, that passed out, right? Oh, hell no. They couldn't take that chance. They would never take that chance, ever. It's all bullshit, dude. It's all smoke and mirrors. So as it progresses and progresses, what do? We revert right back down to 2012. 2012. We bring 2012 right back to 2021. So essentially it'd be 2112. That'd be a mirror. What's that all about? Well, we're going to take an incident that occurred in 2012 and we're going to ram it down the people's throats and in their minds that, hey, remember what happened in 2012 around Christmas time? We got to do something about that. We need to take away your beloved second. They bring them right back into the mix. Well, that's impossible. They'd never do that. Prepare for a link. They're already doing it right now. Yes, they are. All right, we need confirmation from anybody that wants to look at the link for tweeters. Would somebody like to explain to me who's that person there? Are they not from 2012? Yes, they are. And what are they promoting? Taking your beloved second, buddy. Same thing all over again. Because they gotta have those. The more and more people that will be infuriated from losing their jobs, from losing their livelihoods, these people are going to be enraged. Yes, they are. They're not volunteering for any of this BS. We're told over and over to trust the science. Excuse me, all of those doctors and all of those nurses that said no thank you, yeah, I trust that they would know what they're talking about because they were on the front line. If they're not willing to do it, that makes all the sense in the world to me, buddy, because they're on my level. You got me? Yeah, they are. They're just everyday Americans. But they were heroes last year, according to the authorities, and now they're zeros because they won't kiss your ass. Because they won't take something that you're telling them to take. Well, why not? Because you palantired everybody, dude. Yes, you did. And everybody has a score. Just like that patent stated that everybody has a score. And that you would dose in association to the score that is in that patent. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that patent that was read to you the other day, the initial patent took place out of the country of Israel in 2010. Wow. Holy smokes. Yeah. So how does it work out? How does it all end? Well, they keep going through all the booster and the booster and the booster. And as this nonsense, this totalitarian government transforms, people are going to be enraged, and people are going to be enraged and enraged. And guess what? We'll just keep taking them out, but not to lunch. Sure will. And then what happens in the long run? By the time you get the 8th booster, what happens then? By that time, who do you have left? Chances are you have just a bunch of adolescents that you can indoctrinate into all your sick-ass, weird crap that you got going on that you're trying to force all these parents into. And all these parents are raising hell, and now the FBI wants to silence them by calling them domestic terrorists when they're simply looking out for their sons and daughters. No, ladies and gentlemen, the fact of the matter is the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is the terrorist. The Department of Homeland Security is the terrorist. The Defense Intelligence Agency is the terrorist. The National Security Agency is the terrorist. The Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is the terrorist. The United States Clandestine Service is the terrorist. Yes, they are. Sorry, pal. The Department of Justice is the terrorist. See how that works? It's not us that is the terrorist, bozos. It is all of you clowns. Because we've just gone through all of history from 1992 to where we are now. And who's been involved in all of it? You jackasses. The people that we pay, the people that we have put in place to secure this nation, to protect its citizens, you've turned right back around and used our freaking money, and with the technology that you developed, to turn right back around and use it against the people. Well, fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck.
Send my video to anybody you want. My story time is done, and I'm going to publish later.
All right. Montagraph. Fucking A, guys. And this is going. There's this thumbnail there. Fucking Stalin Biden. Biden's Biden. You can see that. Joseph Robinette Stalin Jr. There's still 338 people in the chat room from this epic stream. That's what it says. I don't know if it's going to let me in, though. But anyway, I will, if they don't take me out, but not to lunch, which, you know, it's all possible. They are just mad with just rabid with the fuckery that's going on. And I was a targeted individual I've had military airplanes come over my house and dose us with some beam or some sort of surveillance equipment that you could feel. It was several years ago, after some events happened, and this was after I got the earthquake stopped at Guy, Arkansas, about a year or two after that, or 3 years after that. I had been tailed by a particular woman and many times that I knew was an agent, and contacted over the years. I've been contacted by many people that come and then disappear, and a lot of you don't know, but I do. A lot of these people are agents that I've contacted with and have been friends with. Some of them they leave because they don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. With things that I know and all that stuff that's associated with it. You see the way I pull information out of the. I'm kind of like Montagraph. Montagraph's really good. He's a smart guy, and they're not taking him out to lunch. Why would they take me out? They are using people like us to get certain information out there, or get it unearthed, because they have problems finding it themselves, or dealing with it. They have to have that side. There's got to be two sides of the coin, or it doesn't work. There's always going to be a narrative. If, if if they killed everybody, they can't kill the smart people. That's one thing. Another thing is the way you manifest. You manifest your fate. If they're to take you out, you probably manifested that one way or other by following along. Like what I stopped doing this morning in my, I kind of put a stop to all the news reporting and everything, and just took a break for the middle part of the day. And because I was seeing that they had honed in on me, and was focusing on me this morning and into the afternoon through my electronic devices. I haven't turned the computer on all day. I was going to do a live stream, guys. I'll hopefully do a live stream and get that out there to you. Some of that patent information I came across, and the frequency about the photosynthesis frequency and the awareness perception frequency that we all need to kind of explore, as we've settled into these last days going into December, where we know that China plans on invading Taiwan and dragging, if not us, but the rest of the world into a conflict over the place where the chips for all the electronics in the world are made, mainly in Taiwan, then in China, and then I think it's Japan. And until we get manufacturing R&D up in America, we could just, like what happened to the civilizations here back when there was nuclear holocaust recorded from the Vedic time, places in Afghanistan and India and stuff, and Turkmenistan and all that unknown area, parts of the world where there were places that had been destroyed by nuclear weapons, and then all the big giant pyramids that are all over the place that At one time, the Schumann and the geoelectric field and the cosmic rays were as such you could pull a lot more charge and energy out of the atmosphere with simple geometric and metallic and ferrous magnetic combinations of well, technology, not technology, but just rudimentary elements you combine, and you can get electricity from, and all kinds of plasma and all this stuff. But the frequency will change gradually, like it's doing, and they're attempting to manipulate that as well with CERN, and their toys they've got. So let me tell you a little bit about what happened this morning. I was speaking with a friend on Messenger, a new friend, and he has ties with NASA and stuff, and we were all talking the whole conversation between everybody this morning, these trans entities and invasion and all this sort of thing, and so he mentions this evaluation or estimate in 2018 of transdimensional entity population of the world and all this stuff, or known lists of them or whatever. And I pulled it up and posted it. I didn't even get a chance to look at it, but we'll pull that up and look at it in my next live stream. We've got a lot to cover. I've just been waiting. What I've been waiting for the past 3 weeks of taking this break, past 3 or 4 weeks of taking this break, I'm on pretty much of a month, and I probably won't get going again until maybe even after Christmas or New Year's. It just depends if shit goes down or if it does. But what I think is this is just going to keep propagating and evolving and mutating into other things, and things should be fine. And if they're not, well, then all this prepping that you've done and everything might pay off for a few months to a year, and then for many of us, most of us, that 96% of the population, the inevitable will happen, and we will be no longer here. But the species, I believe, will go on, maybe tainted or mutated, changed from this definite extinction level event that we are facing down, of not necessarily our own species propagation, but there's people that we've had a hand in it, by accepting and using the technologies that are being used against us, and like the cell phone that I'm talking into. There's, that I know, hello, they're watching me right now as I record this, and it ain't even being posted because they were fucking with me today, and I didn't say anything about it. I just kind of casually fucking turned everything off, laid down, and took a nap. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm not gonna play your fucking stupid your games, guys. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna believe a bunch of hogwash that's put in front of my face. So I didn't post none of that news that I came across this morning, which has probably got a lot of people on edge right now. A lot of people up at ready to, they try and get you to walk out that door with a firearm and act like you're going to do something, and that's what they're trying to do. So, but there'll come a day, if we have to, you'll know it. Like Montagraph says, you'll know it if we have to, but don't do it yet. All this shit you see is just their dark winter exercise that they're in the middle of, with the intelligence agencies, the Five Eyes, the control over the airwaves and the frequencies that we see on our phone, interact with, and social media and stuff. There are people that have individual testing and scenarios and like the Truman Show, kind of on a this worldly level, adapted to what's going on now. Basically, we've got individual Truman shows going on with agencies watching these people, such as myself and Montagraph, and to see what they'll do. To see in the future situations on the home planet, how do we take care of the situation? Back towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy. We're way out here on this fucking in the middle of nowhere on sticks on a zoo test planet is what it is. And so, all you can do is just kind of once you visualize and realize everything that's really going on, you have to take a step back and just move on with your life. You know what I'm saying? And it's difficult, but to put that down. But there are some of us here that have been here for a long time, and we've watched this play out over many lifetimes, and it's we remember it as it comes back to us. What's been being done to us on a many millennia scale, and we're coming for you. We're coming to get you. So don't think nobody's won just yet, guys, because you ain't won shit. You ain't fucking got me. And you ain't got motherfuckers like Montagraph or the fucking Montagraph army or all the rest of the fuckers that are fucking fixing to fucking fuck shit up. I tell you that right now. If you don't cut your shit out, relax, back the fuck off.